what he will tell you with this stuff is completely...
Welcome to the CYO podcast, and today we have someone who embodies what this season is all about. Tayler Stinnett grew up in Kentucky, where her love for performance and movement first got its roots, and at a young age she made the bold decision to leave home and move to New York City to pursue her dreams. Since then, she has built a reputation as a talented dancer, a dynamic performer, and a leader in the bachata world. From creating her own women's team to forming partnerships and building platforms for others, she has demonstrated what it looks like to not just wait for opportunities, but to create them. I'm excited to dive into her story today. Tayler, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Dev! Hey! That was so nice! Thank you for that. I feel like I don't even have to say anything. That was great. Thank you.
Well, let's jump right into it. What is it like growing up in Kentucky?
Oh, what is it like? It's not New York, I'll tell you that. For me, I think my experience in Kentucky is a little different than your normal average kid. I grew up literally going to school, dancing until 10 o'clock at night, going to sleep, barely seeing my family, waking up and doing it all over again. So I feel like I didn't live your normal Southern Kentucky life, but it was definitely much quieter than my life here in New York is. And sometimes I miss it a lot. But yeah.
So, from what I understand, you left home at the age of 16 and came to New York. What was that like? What made you make that decision?
Yeah, so I graduated high school early, my junior year. I practically begged my parents to allow me to come to New York to a school called the Institute for American Musical Theater. And I was actually scholarshiped when I was 15 to come to this school. But my parents were like, heck no, 15, New York, Kentucky, doesn't fit. So I wasn't able to go that year, but they had told me if I can convince them that I was worthy, I guess, of moving to the city and that I was a big girl to be able to take care of myself and to get my studies done, because obviously I didn't want to be the person in my family that just dropped school and left. So they wanted to make sure that I graduated. And of course I did too, but really my mindset was all dance. I want to dance. So I was like, okay, fine. And I stopped going to public school. I started online classes to finish out my junior and senior year in a month. And I basically started that fall of 2017 and graduated, moved directly to New York, finally convinced them, and started going to musical theater school here.
What was it like when you first got here?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I remember the first day coming, my mom and my dad flew me here. They came with me. They helped me bring my things in suitcases and stuffed my pillows full of things. And I arrived to the apartment that I was living in, because at the time the school didn't have dorms. It was a very new school. It was only the second year, I believe, that it's been open. So I had a roommate at the time that I actually knew from home, thankfully. So that was really nice way to just dive into something new, at least with someone who you're familiar with. But I really got the full experience living in an apartment literally on the corner of Central Park. At the get-go, 16. The girl I was rooming with at the time, she was much older than me. And yeah, we started school that following Monday. And I remember when my parents left, I just sat on my bed and I was like, okay, now what? Like, what do we do with this? The city's so big. Like, what are we gonna do? But yeah, it was definitely interesting. It was definitely a culture shock. How people are here in New York, dealing with that, learning how to, it's like going to college, right? You go and you kind of decline until you fly, right?
Dive right head
Yeah,
first in.
so that was definitely how I was feeling in the beginning, and learning to cook all the time for myself, do my laundry, all of those things were so new. And so to be pushed into that at such a young age was wild. But I don't regret it for sure. Don't
Well,
regret
that
it.
was going to be my next question. Was there any regrets of moving there?
Honestly, no. I feel, and I still tell everyone this every day, that they ask me this question, is that I feel like I learned more things living in the city, starting at 16 years old by yourself, than I have my entire life in school. And I've gone to school my entire life publicly. So it just goes to show how much the world and how practice in things can teach you more than going and studying books. I was always like, Mom, why am I learning the value of X? Why am I doing this, doing that when I haven't used it in my life? Or maybe some people do, depending on what they do, right? But for me, it was never the case. And yeah, I'm super grateful that I got to experience that at such a young age. And no regrets. No regrets.
So, when you were listing off the different types of dance that you had learned in Kentucky, I don't think I heard Latin dance in there. So, when did that kind of
No.
come into the scene?
Yeah, so yeah, any Latin dance, bachata, salsa, anything out of this mix, I honestly didn't even know what bachata was when I lived in Kentucky, nor do we have it at my studio. I believe now they're branching out into that Latin world and trying to bring some influence into that, even ballroom styles. But for me, it was never something that I knew about. So after about a year living into New York, I was invited to a social as a wing woman, basically. That's how I dove into the scene quite randomly. My roommate was going on a date. She was like, Taylor, I don't want to go alone. Of course, it's New York. We're all young. We're like, okay, we need to go in packs. So I went with her on her date secretly, and it was to a social called Bachata Rosa. It is unfortunately not existing in New York anymore since the pandemic, but it was a very lovely social when I went, and I stayed all night long, all night. It was quite bad, honestly. If you're thinking about, I was 17 then, and going to school in the day from 7 a.m., get out at 4 p.m., 4:30, something like this. And then I go social dance all night long without my parents knowing. I really hope my parents don't watch this. Too late. Yeah, if you can imagine that kind of dynamic, it was not great for me. But I also was not a problematic child. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't really party. I mean, I guess what I do is dance in parties, right? But for me, it's quite different. And so I found the connection to be invigorating. I found this partner dance so new, because for me, I've always danced solo. And any kind of partner work that was connected with another person was maybe in contemporary, contact improv, very little ballroom training, but not social dance. So when I was brought to this social, that was it. That was it. I was hooked. the bug had bit me. This happens to everyone. That first year, the bug bit me, and I was unstoppable in this scene.
Well, let me back it up a little bit. Had you ever taught dance before?
Yeah, so I was teaching here and there, but not bachata, obviously. Different styles. Some contemporary, jazz, very light work. But when I came to New York, I didn't have it in my mind to be a teacher at all. It was actually not something that I saw myself doing in that moment. And I really always wanted to be the person that was the one doing, right? And that quickly changed as I started exploring bachata in this way. So yeah, I've worked with kids, I've worked with people my age, and while I was in school, I wouldn't say I taught very much here. It was more so taking classes very intensely for singing, dancing, and acting. And then in the pandemic, I also fell a lot into the commercial scene, into reggaeton, into heels, commercial dance work, music video work. So yeah, it's kind of a crazy dance ride.
So then, how did you kind of like settle upon bachata, like that you figured, let me explore this, take it further?
Sure. Yeah, so I actually remember sitting in my musical theater school, and I remember my parents, they found out that I was going out. I knew that they were worried that I wasn't focused. I wasn't auditioning like all the others were anymore. And I remember sitting there and just feeling in my gut that I was meant to do something with bachata, and I couldn't ever put my finger on what that was. All I knew in this moment was social dance. That's it. Social party, classes on the side, workshops on the side from random people around New York that some of them don't even teach here anymore. But yeah, from that day, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep feeling this out and trying to see what my gut is telling me with this style, what I'm supposed to do with it. I was getting some team opportunities from different people around the city. And soon after that, I actually ended up falling into Central Movement, which is the company that I work with now, and that I partner with. And they kind of opened my eyes to a whole nother scene in this that I had no idea existed. I had no idea you could make a living off of this. I had no idea that there were festivals all over the world, that you could travel for what you do. I had no idea. So when I started kind of gaining this information little by little from different companies, from working with teams, from seeing people doing different things, I really dove in. I started with my first partner, assisting him in classes in the city. That's kind of how I fell into, I don't want to say teaching, because at the time I wasn't really teaching. I was more so assisting and learning and in the room, right? But at the time I was a technical dancer, so they really wanted me to be a part of these things, and I learned quickly. That was what my training was to do, was to be versatile, was to be malleable in the dance. And so for me, I was just really interested in that, in exploring something different. It wasn't until much later that I started taking it and seeing how my dance styles that I know can shift it and confuse it and can evolve it, because bachata is changing all the time, right? And it's changed so much till this day. And so for me, that was the biggest challenge, was how, without putting myself in this box, how can I influence this style and use it as a medium to connect with people and to connect with my inner self and to connect with my inner artist and to create something that fills me with joy and also continues telling people's stories and to help people connect with the movement. So it's definitely super complex and it came little by little, but yeah, that's how it slowly seeped in.
Now, was this more so an opportunity that you had to seek out, or that kind of found you?
For bachata, it completely found me. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I chose to keep walking towards that, was because I did feel that. I had intuition that I needed to keep going with it, and I trusted that. And since then, thank the universe, I have been given such wonderful opportunities, such wonderful people in my life that have taught me different things and how to be a good partner and how to navigate the scene as even a solo dancer when I was working by myself in the scene, which is a whole other story. And yeah, it really forced me to shape myself in a different way. Once I started to trust my gut in that this was for me and that I needed to find what this was, there were so many opportunities that started falling into my lap and companies wanting to work with me, wanting me to partner with them, teach in their schools, teach in their socials, and that trailed into teaching into festivals, which is something I knew nothing about. So Sensual Movement was the first company that gave me the opportunity to start teaching with their company. Like I said, I assisted for a while other instructors teaching in the company, and I also participated in a bachatango team at the time, which I don't dance tango either, so that was interesting. There's still videos out there on that. That's super bad, but yeah, from there, I feel like it was kind of a snowball effect. Sensual Movement gave me this opportunity. I believe it was summer 2019, I want to say, was my first festival that I ever taught in. It was in Myrtle Beach, and it was a Sensual Movement festival. And that was crazy. That was crazy. It was my first experience. I had no idea really how to be in the festival. And, coming from a person who, again, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't really do the party lifestyle, it was definitely an interesting road. But it kind of also reminded me of competitions and conventions at home that I used to take part in, which was basically all the same. You have the classes in the day, you have the performances in the night. The only thing you didn't have was the social until the crack of dawn. It's basically the only thing that's different. So it was really unique to experience that same atmosphere, but in a different world, in the Latin world. It was really interesting.
Speaking of interesting roads, how did you and Luis's partnership come about?
Jesus. This is actually something that you should ask him. This is not
So
really
I don't.
me.
I've heard the story, but I want to hear certain parts of it from your perspective.
Okay. So it's a little complicated because Luis and I have quote unquote known each other over a few years, right? But we never really knew each other. We were kind of like doing this all the time in life. My first perspective of him was I was on a pro team at the time in Sensual Movement. I had another partner at the time, and Luis was someone they were looking at to bring into the team to be another one of my friend's partners, and to be on the pro team with us. In that moment, he danced zero sensual. Zero. Zero, zero. And yeah, he never showed up to any practice. So not even one. Not even one. We literally did the entire dance. We rehearsed the entire dance and we performed the dance, and he hadn't showed up. He kept saying, I'm coming this time. I'm coming today. I'm coming today. Nothing. So that was my first outlook of Luis, which was like a little annoying. His perspective is a bit different. We fast forward, forget about that other time. We blacklisted him after that moment. What was it? A New Year's event of Sensual Movements, actually. And in this moment, my boss had asked me, Taylor, can you go to the event and dance with this person? I want to see if he is good to be able to bring into the company and be a lead as one of our lead teachers in the city, because at the time they were looking for more male dancers to teach in the company. So they were scouting him, and they told me, Taylor, go to this social, dance with him. After you dance with him, text me and let me know what you think. Okay, this was my job. So I go to the social, we have our first dance. It was terrible. Terrible. Keep in mind, he still doesn't really know sensual in this moment. So what he will tell you with this stuff is completely his perspective when he does not know sensual. So I did not think it was the worst thing ever, but on his end, he hated me because he could feel that I was judging him. I guess I'm really bad at hiding that or something. But anyways, I gave Anna pretty good feedback, by the way. I did not say anything like he doesn't know anything. No, it wasn't like that. However, he never wanted to dance with me again after that. I put a good word in for him, and a little bit later, I had just finished one of my partnerships, and Anna was like, okay, great. Well, we want to bring in this guy, and we want to see you collaborate with him in a social. It was a very chill social class, I believe at Ballroom Hub in the city, and they put us together to teach, and we had our first class there, and it actually went very, very well. We had very good feedback from people, and so we were like, okay, we'll see about this collaboration. In that moment, I was not really looking to partner with anyone. I had had my fair share of past partner experiences, and I was not looking for another one. But Anna was like, collaborate, here we go. And so I just went with it, and we had a few more collaborations after that, and it was Orlando, one of the anniversaries. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember off the top of my head. I think it was 2023. I could be very wrong about this, okay? Like, take it lightly, the dates. So we go to this festival. We're still not partnered together, by the way. This is the last festival I have to teach with my old partner, so I'm teaching with another person, and this Luis comes and teaches with another person. So we're collaborating with two different people here. And I remember later on that day, we had taken Daniel and Desiree's class, which is our mentors now. And we were taking their class, and after the class, we went to thank them. Thank you so much. You're amazing. And they said, you too, we need to talk. We need to talk. And I was like, oh boy, is this good or is this bad? I don't know what this is.
Y'all are in trouble.
Yeah, it did not feel, it was scary. And so we went and we sat with Daniel and Desiree, and we ended up talking with them for 4 hours on basically why we need to cut the bullshit and start being partners. And so from there, we basically reconsidered, well, I reconsidered partnering with Luis. Because how are you going to tell Daniel and Desiree no?
Nope, you don't.
One.
You know?
Two, Daniel and Desiree are our biggest inspirations and have been the people who have brought us together and guided us along this path probably more than anyone. And they're incredible. It just goes to show. I mean, sitting down for 4 hours talking with two people in a festival about everything, basically, to be born as a partnership is wild. So yeah, from there we kind of took the decision, okay, let's give this another shot and let's try to like really dive in. So it's been a journey for sure.
Now, 2 years since then, having traveled all over the world, flying out every weekend, doing festivals, what has been like your biggest takeaway from that?
Is to constantly remind yourself that you are a student and that it is okay to be learning constantly. It's okay not to know everything. Evolution is inevitable and it's necessary for the partnership, for the dance, for the style. This is also a little bit rooted in my ladies team that I have, which is the idea of reinventing yourself and being okay with that evolution, and time and again, if you feel like you're going like this, that there's always an up. Yeah, we've 2.5 years we've been working together now, and it's continuously eye-opening. Constantly learning about each other, constantly learning about our style. That is something that's ever evolving, especially as the things around us continue to evolve, as well as ourselves as individuals. It's practically a relationship. Yeah, that would be my biggest takeaway. Stay humble, stay grounded, and we're always striving for balance. It's never going to be balanced. It's a hard lifestyle, but it's very beautiful and it's very rewarding to see the people around you gain so much happiness and so much love from the stuff that you do and the things that you put out into the world. So that for me is probably the biggest takeaway. Yeah.
There's something that you posted not too long ago that me and a friend were actually talking about, and it was saying, just make it exist first and then make it better later. Why does that resonate with you?
Because I'm a procrastinator. That's it. Period. Yeah. This is crazy for me. So, speaking about procrastination, in bachata, it took me 3 years to get out one solo. If that tells you anything. And for me, when I posted that, it's kind of a message for myself to constantly remind you it doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to exist. That's it. Because otherwise it's never going to exist. It took my grandmother passing away and me going home and grieving that loss to be able to find the time to set that aside, to get out of my mind, to get out of my way, to create for myself something that feels good for me. Not to say that I don't do that anyways, but when you have other people that are relying on you to create something, you tend to dish it out easier. But for me, creating for myself has always been the hardest thing to do. And I'm still learning why that is. I don't know if it's because maybe I see all the people around me doing all of these things and I want to make sure that mine is the most unique or the most this or the most that, right? And at the end of the day, that's not important. And so to use my solo as an example, that was probably the biggest thing of me putting something out, making it exist, even if it took me 3 years to get there, and making it beautiful along the way. Yeah, because you can put something out and you can continue working on it. It's the same as Luis and I's partnership, right? If I wait until we have a solid finished product, whether that be in our duet, whether that be in our style, we would never be dancing, you know? Because what is perfect, right? And that is okay. The imperfection is the most beautiful thing about it, and that's what people connect with the most. And I also think that allowing yourself to have the space to evolve and to shape whatever you're creating into what it is supposed to be for you, that's art. That's the process, right? Fall in love with the process. And that's what I try to remind myself now. Every day I'm creating for my ladies, for myself, for a team, for Luis and I, is to approach it with this mindset and not to be so nitpicky about how it looks in this moment, right? Because everybody has an evolution and it's important to respect that.
So this season, this first season, is about creating your opportunities, in which you've obviously done that, but you've also created opportunities for others. And I'm speaking specifically about Muse. How did that idea kind of come about, and what does that mean to you? Why did you do it?
So I started Muse, I believe the beginning, like February of 2022. And in this moment, I remember feeling a craving for women, a support of women. I mentioned the idea of reinventing yourself. And in that moment, I had gotten out of my first partnership and went into a little bit of a hiatus of working alone for like a year and a half or so. And in that time, I learned the most about myself. I learned how to navigate the scene as a solo dancer, as a woman. And I wanted to create a space, a group for women to be able to unapologetically reinvent themselves at any time. And so Muse came about kind of with the idea of you are your own muse. The people around you can be your muse. There's really so many things that you can pull and reinvent yourself with and find yourself with. And I'm very grateful for this group because honestly, it's the light of my life at the moment. It's the light of my days. Coming from festival to festival and coming back to the city and teaching them fuels me so much. And to be able to pour into other women, I actually don't think that they understand how much they're pouring into me as well. It's been an amazing outlet for my creativity. It's been an opportunity for me to explore how I fuse bachata, how I like to dance bachata, and to be able to put my artwork on other people has been super amazing, especially with the last few pieces that we've done. Yeah, it's safe to say we are pushing the limits of bachata fusion. And yeah, I'm super grateful to be surrounded by such an amazing group of women.
If 16-year-old Taylor stepping into New York for the first time could see you now, what do you think she'd say?
I think I would tell myself to trust the process and to enjoy the process, because life can be pretty shitty sometimes. It can toss you around, smack you in the face, roll you around, pick you back up, drop you again. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful experience, and the lows are just as important as the highs. And I would remind myself that you're going to come out better every time. Not to be afraid of that. Trust the process. Make mistakes. Make mistakes. Get messy. All that kind of thing. Yeah. Because I think coming from, for me, coming from a very structured dance lifestyle, it's very hard to make mistakes and to be okay with that. And it's difficult to navigate life in the dance world. I don't want to say alone, because we're not alone, ever. We're never alone. But it does get and feel very tough at times. Find your community. The people around you love you, no matter what. And yeah, continue to trust the process. Lead with your gut. Lead with your gut all the time, because it's always right. That's it. And all the other things that I said about being a student and trusting the process. That's a good overarching one that I think always we come back to, even as teachers, even as professionals. Trust the process, enjoy the process, because it's yours. You get one, right?
Well, thank you, Taylor, for sharing your story, and I hope you enjoyed your time here.
You're the best, Dev.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the studio I grew up dancing in, called Dance Arts of Bowling Green, now Soki, they were very adamant about us training in many different styles. So I grew up, of course, dancing ballet, jazz, and tap. Those are the main three that usually kids start with in the studio. And then from there, I started adding little by little, lyrical, contemporary, and musical theater came about, hip hop, modern, African, so many different styles that I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be able to train inside, because now it's developed me into the dancer that I am today. But yeah, around 8 years old is when I started really going hard in my dancing in Kentucky and training pre-professionally. So we were dancing for 5 hours a day, different styles almost every hour, if not every 2 hours. So it was a very full childhood of dance.
Who were some of your influences during that time?
During that time, biggest. I would say, honestly, my biggest influence was my teacher, Ashley Kiefer, from home. I have been working with her since I was probably 7. Before that, it was Martha Madison, who brought me through her school and owned the school that I started dancing in. And Ashley Kiefer, she was also a very well-rounded dancer. She still teaches there today, and she's practically my second mom. So I did learn all of my choreographic skill and my creativity and my, just the artistic ability. I really pulled that from her and learned the most from her.
Speaking of moms, what was your family like?
Whew, my family, my family is amazing. My family's amazing. My mom and dad, my mom is a teacher. And she also is a workout instructor, and my dad is a pharmacist. And they're always very, very supportive of my dancing career. And thankfully, my brother he is younger than me. He just graduated college, actually, and my sister is in dentistry. So they are very not artsy people. So to give you just a little bit of a roundabout answer for that, that was very interesting. I'm a middle child, so I grew up dancing all the time, and they grew up doing the normal go to school, go to college, get married, leave to a different state, all of these things. My brother is still home with my family, but